Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're doing something a bit different. We're not exactly learning a new language ourselves.
No, not directly. But we are analyzing the source material for one, a really structured script designed for teaching absolute basic English. Greetings, numbers, daily stuff, the real starter kit.
Right, and our mission today, it's more about the knowledge architecture, isn't it? We're kind of treating this curriculum like a blueprint.
Exactly. Think about it if you're starting a new role or trying to learn, say, a complex coding framework or even just grasp a big scientific idea. How do you figure out the absolute must-know building blocks?
Where do you even start?
Right. And this script, well, it gives us a potential answer, a strategic one.
So we're basically stripping away the actual English words and looking at the system underneath, the process.
Precisely. The source material lays out 6 core pillars, things it deems necessary to get someone competent, fast, to survive in a new environment, essentially.
And the idea is, if you get the logic of how they sequence it, you can apply that logic to learning pretty much anything complex.
That's the goal. Okay, so let's unpack this blueprint.
Let's do it. What are the pillars they focus on?
Okay, so there are 6. Greetings first, then numbers, days of the week, objects, food and drinks, and finally, daily activities.
Okay, so it's not just random vocabulary. There's a definite flow.
Absolutely. It moves outward, starts with like social entry, then maps the immediate world, and then gets into routine systematically.
Okay, so pillar 1, greetings. Why start there? Seems obvious, but what's the strategic reason?
Well, what's fascinating is that immediate prioritization of the social toolkit. You have to start with greetings. Because you can't really get knowledge or tools from people until you've made that basic social connection. It's the entry point.
Right, okay. Makes sense. And the script covers the bare minimum, yeah. Hello, hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
And the ways to leave, too. Goodbye. Bye. See you later. It's establishing that presence, formal and informal, and how to exit politely.
Simple, but necessary.
And they don't just lift words. They immediately model that core exchange. Hello, how are you?
Followed by, I'm fine, thank you. And you. The classic.
The absolute classic. But think about it strategically, like in business. That's the essential ritual opener, isn't it? It's the minimum viable social structure that lets communication even begin.
A handshake before the real talk.
Exactly. You can't dive into the details without that initial acknowledgement.
Okay, got it. So social entry first. But then why the immediate jump to numbers 1 through 10? Why not say objects in the room?
Good question. It's because numbers, specifically 1 to 10, let the learner immediately quantify their world, define scale and scope.
Quantify.
How so? Before you know what something is, you often need to know how many. It sets the boundaries of this new little universe you're entering.
Okay, I think I see.
And the way they teach it is, well, I think it's quite brilliant. They anchor these abstract numbers to your immediate physical self.
Ah, like the examples in the script. They make the learner actually say 10 fingers.
Yep, 10 fingers, 2 eyes, and that slightly funny one, only 1 mouth.
Right, so you're grounding something abstract, the number 5, in something totally concrete, like your own hand. Hard to forget that.
Exactly. It makes those first 10 concepts stick immediately. And for someone learning any new field, this step is vital. It's like learning the 10 key terms or the 10 core functions.
The fixed points you can count on, literally.
Precisely. The tangible points to measure everything else against.
Okay. So, social presence established, quantitative base set. Pillar 2, you said, anchors life in time and space. Starting with time.
Yes, the days of the week, Monday through Sunday.
And again, it's not just listing them. The source material emphasizes the instructional technique, right? Understanding the sequence.
That's key. They push beyond recall. They ask things like, what day comes after Thursday? Right, or what day was yesterday? It forces temporal thinking, sequence, reflection.
Which, if we're talking about the blueprint idea, translates to planning, project management almost.
You got it. Understanding the week sequence is fundamental for organizing anything. It establishes the cadence, Monday's tasks versus Fridays. It builds that basic structure for a schedule or a project timeline.
Makes sense. And alongside time, they map space, immediate physical space.
Using that short list of 5 specific objects: book, pen, chair, table, bag.
Okay, now that list feels a little dated, maybe. Why those five? No computer, no phone.
Ah, but that's the strategic choice again. Think about it. Those objects are almost universally common, easily pointed to, and they don't really change their basic form much.
Reliable, low tech, but global.
Exactly. It guarantees a shared vocabulary for the immediate workspace, whether you're in Silicon Valley or, a rural classroom. Defines the core tools.
Okay, I see the logic. Universal identifiers.
But here's the real leap, the bit that translates powerfully to any field. This is where they introduce the first core sentence structures, the grammar.
Right. The rules for how you relate to this new environment you're mapping.
Precisely. And the first pattern is possession.
I have a book. I have a pen. I have a bag.
Mm-hmm. Strategically, what does that translate to? It's about establishing your scope, your tools.
So not just I own a pencil, but maybe I have the Q3 data or I have the key personnel for this project.
Exactly. It defines what you control, your immediate capacity to act.
Okay. And the second pattern.
Identification. And crucially, question formation around it. The pattern is, question, what is this? Answer, it's a pen.
So now the learner can point at something unknown and ask for its label. They can process new information.
Yes. It's the ability to categorize. You've moved from just greetings and counting to defining your tools and actively asking about things you don't understand. That's a massive step towards taking control, towards mastery.
Huge psychological shift.
Okay, so the next phase, Pillar 3, is really important for moving beyond just defining things and into, well, personal interaction, needs and preferences.
And this involves that vocabulary list for food and drinks.
Yep, a rapid expansion. Rice, bread, apple, banana, chicken, fish, the staples, water, juice, milk, tea, coffee.
Pretty functional list. Globally recognized stuff, mostly.
True. But again, the real value isn't the list itself. It's the skill they introduce here, expressing basic personal preference.
Using I like and I don't like.
Exactly.
The
I like
stuff.
apples. I don't like fish. This moves the learner from just passively identifying things to actively engaging with them, expressing an opinion.
Which, in another context, say a complex project or a new field, translates pretty directly to setting boundaries, maybe, expressing risk tolerance.
Absolutely. Think about it. Until you can articulate, I like this approach, or I don't like our dependence on that supplier, you're really just absorbing facts passively.
You're not engaging critically.
Right. The ability to state a preference, even a simple one, is how a novice starts becoming a participant, a critical thinker. It shows you're actually engaging with the material.
And the script immediately uses this, doesn't it? It leads straight into practical conversation.
Instantly. With those two core questions that come directly from expressing preferences. What do you like to eat? And what do you like to drink?
Simple questions, but powerful.
They create a bridge, a way to connect with someone else about what matters to them, their likes and dislikes, and to share your own. That's way beyond just reciting greetings, isn't it?
Definitely. Okay, so after preferences, the final big content block is mapping the rhythm of the day, daily activities.
Pillar number 4. This is where it all starts to come together.
It integrates the time markers, the vocabulary, into a kind of personal narrative.
Yeah, you could say that. We get that essential sequence of daily verbs. Wake up, brush teeth, shower, eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, go to school or work, come home, go to sleep.
The basic flow of a day.
It's the execution phase, really. The nouns, the time frames we learned earlier, they now get tied to actual practical actions.
And what's neat here is how the script loops back and integrates time again. It's not just what you do, but when.
Exactly. I wake up at 7, I eat lunch at noon, I go to sleep at night.
It reinforces those foundational numbers and the concept of time passing, the days of the week structure, folding it all into the immediate routine.
Right. It creates a fully defined sort of daily cycle, a scope of work for the day. And naturally, it gives you the key question for routine. What time do you wake up?
Instantly usable, testable against your own life.
The whole structure is designed for that immediate application.
Okay, so we've walked through the 6 pillars of what they teach. Greetings, numbers, days, objects, food, drinks, activities. But you mentioned a part 5, the strategy piece.
Ah, yes, retention and review. For me, this is where the real deep dive happens. This is where the curriculum basically reveals how it expects the learner to make this knowledge stick, to build durable competence.
So it's not just the content, but the learning method itself.
Exactly. And this is so critical for anyone learning anything complex. The script makes the learning process itself transparent, mandatory even. They don't just give you the words, they explicitly teach you how to retain them.
Okay, so what are those methods?
Well, The first one is obvious, but with a twist, repetition.
Okay, practice makes perfect, but what's the twist?
The script specifically tells the learner to say things slowly first,
Right.
and then practice saying them together faster. That specific tempo change is crucial.
Why? Why slow then fast?
Think about it neurologically. Saying it slowly lets you focus on the individual parts, the sounds, the syntax, the mechanics, making sure it's correct. That's all happening in your working memory, requiring conscious effort.
Okay.
But when you deliberately practice saying it faster, you're pushing that information out of conscious construction and into fluency, into durable memory. It starts becoming automatic, like muscle memory.
Ah, like learning a keyboard shortcut or a coding command. You type it deliberately at first, then eventually your fingers just know it.
Precisely. You stop assembling the pieces each time and start accessing the whole finished thing instantly. You're building fluency.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the second retention method?
Active practice. Specifically, the demand for externalization,
Externalization.
meaning getting it out of your head. The script constantly pushes the learner. Say it out loud. Practice the dialogues. Look around you and use the words.
Like that instruction. Look around you. What do you see? Say, it is a die.
Exactly. It forces you to connect the abstract knowledge to your concrete, immediate environment.
We see this gap all the time, don't we? People read tons of material, especially in complex fields, but they keep it all internal. They never actually say it or use it actively.
And that is often the biggest barrier to true competence. Until you can articulate the concept, whether it's a French verb or a physics principle or a market trend in a real situation, you don't truly own it.
It hasn't transferred.
Right. This source material forces that transfer immediately. Use the words for real objects you can see. It creates instant feedback. Did I use the right word?
Yeah.
Did it make sense? And confirms your understanding.
Okay, active externalization. Got it.
Hmm.
And the third method?
The practice game. Specifically those fill-in-the-blank exercises.
Like I wake up at da or I have 10.
Yep. That little game is strategically brilliant for retention. Why? Because it forces active recall.
Active recall versus passive recognition.
Exactly. Passive learning is just recognizing something when you see it again. Oh yeah, I've seen that word before. Active recall is producing it from your own memory, cold, without the surrounding context clues.
Like being put on the spot.
In a low-stakes way, yes. That fill-in-the-blank forces your brain to retrieve the information, which strengthens the neural pathway way more effectively than just rereading your notes or seeing the word in a list. It's the final check for fluency.
Slow repetition to fast fluency, active externalization and forced recall. That's a solid learning engine.
It really is.
Okay, so let's try to summarize the whole strategy we've sort of excavated here. Foundational competence, according to this blueprint, is built layer by layer, moving outward from the self.
Greetings give you social access.
Numbers ground you in quantitative reality.
Days provide the temporal structure.
Objects map your immediate environment and tools.
Food and drinks let you express needs and, crucially, opinions.
And daily activities structure your routine, your execution plan.
It's a remarkably concise, logical blueprint for acquiring competence. And that conclusion the source provides really sums up the whole philosophy.
Which was?
You're learning English step by step, slow and easy. It emphasizes that methodical progression. Competence isn't about massive data dumps. It's built through mastering sequential steps.
That systematic, clear, logical sequencing that really feels like the core takeaway for anyone listening. It's a potential blueprint for learning anything complex.
Start with connection. Define your world, state your needs, map your actions.
Yeah. But underpinning all of that is what you just covered, the retention strategy. That heavy reliance on repetition, on actively speaking, on testing yourself constantly.
Absolutely. The doing is inseparable from the knowing.
So the final thought for you, the listener, might be this. If mastering even the absolute fundamentals of something like basic English requires this constant verbalization, this rehearsal, this active daily practice, what essential core building blocks in your field, your job, your area of study are you maybe trying to absorb silently, passively?
Things that really need that daily active repetition to truly become second nature.
Exactly. So ask yourself, are you just recognizing this key concept when you see it? Or can you actually produce it, explain it, use it on demand? That's maybe something to think about until our next deep dive.